be handling class imbalance. Class imbalance is a problem that arises when a particular set of classes have a higher percentage of data points than another set of classes. For example, there's a binary classification problem in which the outputs are A and B. When
Mm,
A occupies 99% of the data and B occupies just 1%, the data
mm,
tends to overfit in the favor of A, and B is never or rarely predicted, which
mm,
results in a problem. To handle this problem of biased classes, or the number of classes being different, or different in the sense largely different, with a huge difference in the ratio and quantity, we have a few resampling strategies to mitigate this problem. I start sharing my screen now. So here we have the techniques we go through. So we do resampling and under resampling strategies we have random undersampling, random oversampling, and then we have Python's imbalanced learn module, which is pretty convenient in handling class imbalance. And then how we implement random undersampling and oversampling with imbalanced learn module, and undersampling with Tomek links and cluster centroids, and we also have oversampling strategies in SMOT, which is pretty interesting. And we have oversampling followed by undersampling. We have taking an imbalanced data set. I have provided the link for the same here. So here we'll be working with imbalanced data sets and explore a few techniques to handle highly unbalanced data sets with a focus on resampling. So remember we had a safe driver prediction dataset. We'll be using that dataset again here because it's a classic problem of unbalanced classes. Since this is a real world dataset, and as you know, real world datasets are more troublesome than the ideal datasets that we have seen in the data science curriculum. I'll just clear all the outputs and then we'll be good to go. So let's repeat our old drill again. Import the required packages, read the required CSV files, and this is a target count. Means counts of all targets. So and
mm.
let's see the proportion of the targets and plot a bar chart showing the counts of the targets. So if you look at this, I'll expand this. So this bar chart represents the counts of the target variable, which is the dependent variable. Okay. So 0 has a lot of numbers and 1 has very little counts here, if you can notice. So what this says that since it is a safe driver prediction data set, which is basically a data set that is used to predict whether a person will file an insurance claim or not for driving. So first, the number of drivers who have not availed an insurance claim is very high, versus the number of drivers who are claimed for insurance is quite less in comparison. The ratio is 26.44 is to 1. So there's a massive class imbalance here. So let us see how we are
This is
going to handle this problem. Look at the counts here, it's almost 5.7 lakh for 0 and 21,000 only for 1. So this causes trouble when you build a machine learning model and get into the metrics that lie underneath it. So as we move ahead, we will see the metric trap. So when you use a simple metric like accuracy score after building a model upon this data set, it can be quite misleading. So especially in data sets with highly unbalanced classes, the classifier always predicts the most common class without performing any analysis of the futures. So it will have a high accuracy rate. Let us say this one has a 99% accuracy rate, but it is illusory, which is like just because 99% of the data lies to a particular class. So it have a 99% accuracy rate, completely disregarding what lies under here. So let's do an experiment using the XGBoost classifier. So here we'll be loading the XGBoost classifier, which is a machine learning algorithm under the boosting sections. And from sklearn's model selection module, we'll load train test split, where we'll where we'll split the data set into train and testing. And from sklearn metrics, we'll load the accuracy score. So these are the labels. The DF train, I'll just show you how it looks like. Yeah. So labels are these. So this is the ID target, and this is the second one till the last one. All right. These are the labels. Moving on, let's define X as DF of labels and Y as DF of target. Target is this, whether the person claim for an insurance or not. So next we'll be going to train test split. Here we'll be splitting the independent variables and the dependent variables into X train and Y train, which is the training data and labels, and X test and Y test, which is the training independent features and dependent features. All right. Then we will define a model known as XGBoost classifier, then fit it upon our training data as we are doing here. Model for dot fit does nothing but do the training process upon the training data here, X train and Y train. And then we will define Y pred, which is the model predictions upon the independent testing data, which is X test. Okay. We will calculate the accuracy between the testing data, which is the actual values, and the prediction value and the predicted values. Okay. So it's since keep in mind it's a boosting algorithm, so which is why it takes a lot of time. So other simple machine learning algorithms like decision trees or logistic regressions, they actually do not take much time. So basically it has a higher performance. So we have a 96% accuracy. Now let us use only one feature. Only one feature means only one column to predict the output. Here we used all these columns to predict the output called target. Now we will use only one output, which is calculated one, and predict the accuracy with that. So there's a 96% accuracy again. We had got previously 96% upon all the features, and with just one independent variable, you're again getting 96% accuracy against what should actually happen, right? It's not reducing because of this, because it's a massive concentration of zeros. Let us see how many how much percent of the data set is occupied by 0. Okay, do you notice any similarity between this and this?
Same, but 0.5, that's it.
Yeah, still 96.359% is of the data is of target 0, and the accuracy is 96.36%. So let us see the confusion matrix and then come to a conclusion as to what has happened. See, with one observation from what has happened here is that the high accuracy rate is just an illusion, right? In this way, the choice of the metric used in unbalanced datasets is extremely important. Okay, so we must use other metrics to evaluate our model. So now let us see the confusion matrix from this model. So actually an interesting way to evaluate the results is by means of a confusion matrix in the case of a classification problem. So confusion matrix just shows the correct and the incorrect predictions for each class. So in the first row, the first column indicates how many classes for 0 were predicted correctly, and the second row, how many classes for 0 was predicted as 1. Second row, we note that all class 1 entries erroneously predicted as 0. Therefore, the higher diagonal values in the confusion matrix, the better, indicating more correct predictions. So I will just plot a confusion matrix and then see. So here we have the scale from 0 to 1 lakh. Okay. This one, in case of a 95 plus accurate model, should be here, right? But it isn't here. It means that class 1 is there, right? Even class 1 is being predicted as class 0 by this model. This is class 0, and no, none of the zeros are predicted as 1. Okay, this is class 1, whereas none of the class 1s have been predicted as 1 by the machine learning model, whereas all the class 1s have been predicted as 0 here. Okay, so let us get into resampling strategies. So resampling strategies are widely used for dealing with highly unbalanced data sets, and it consists of removing samples from the majority class, which is called undersampling, or adding more examples from the minority class, which is known as oversampling. So undersampling is, let us reduce the number of zeros so that they become equal to number of ones. That despite there are advantages for balancing classes, these techniques can also have weaknesses. Some techniques are really good and some techniques is not so good. So the best example is oversampling, okay, in which we'll duplicate random records from the minority class, which will cause overfitting. So in undersampling, the simplest technique is involves removing random records from the majority class, which can cause loss of information. So let us implement a simple example to get random samples in each case. Okay, count of 0 and count of 1 from value counts, and then divide by class and see what happens. So first one is value count is 5,73,000 for class 0, and let's see the class shapes. So data frame of containing class 0 is 5,73,000, and data frame containing class 1 is 2,21,694. So next one is random undersampling. So it is the first technique. So undersampling, the name says we are going to reduce the number of samples from the majority class in order to make it equal to the number of samples in the minority class. So here what we're going to do is we're going to generate samples using df class 0 under. We're going to undersample this to number of classes in one. This is a pandas data frame technique. So it is better if you go into an hands-on part in this by yourself, and then we're going to concat 0 under and class 1 to make it equal. So after performing this operation, I will show you how it looks like. 1 is 21,694 as we had seen before. And now 0 from 5,73,000 has fallen down to 21,694 values. This is called undersampling. We had sampled it to the number of classes in 1. Okay. Now look at the bar graph. The counts are exactly this. What undersampling does. Okay. It's a very interesting and convenient technique. But one drawback of random undersampling is that there is loss of information. Oversampling, we are going to retain the number of samples in 0 and increase the number of samples in 1. We'll be generating new examples and get more samples in 1. So what we do is we'll define df class 1 over and oversample it to this one. The number of samples in count class 0, right? And then as you said, we'll do the pd.concat for the entire data set and see how it looks like. So 1 and 0, number of ones have increased and number of zeros have stayed constant. So this is what a random oversampling is. So now let's get into the imbalanced learn module. So we have a module known as IMB learn here. So from sklearn datasets, right? It's a module in which you have make classification. Make classification function does nothing but generate your own data set. So how it does is we define the number of classes 0 and 1 as number is 2, and then weights 90% belongs to class 0 and 1% belongs to class 10% belongs to class 1, and all these other features which you can ignore if you want. Number of samples is 100 and random state randomly generating this data by state 10. Okay, let us define the df known as pd, the data frame, and target as y. All right, and it is do the plotting of the value counts in this target. So you pass the independent variables x, dependent variable y. The label can be changed to anything. These are the color codes. Okay, first thing, and these are basic markers for both the classes, O for class 0 and S for class 1. And we are going to get the unique values in y using a numpy.unique, colors from this, and markers from this. Matplotlib scatter plot. Okay, and then plotting all the data that lies within it. So we have defined the function here. I'll just load PCA from sklearn's decomposition module, generate the PCA model with n components is equal to 2, and apply it upon x using PCA.fit transform, and plot it using x and y in plot2d space function. And this is the title for that: imbalanced dataset with 2 PCA components. So number of oranges is much less than number of blues, right? So it is because of class imbalance. Okay. So now let us try random undersampling and oversampling, which is under imbalanced learn. Now, if you look at this line of code from imbalanced learn's undersampling module, let us load random undersampler. Okay. From imbalanced learn's undersampling module, let us import random undersampler. Okay. Let us define it as RUS. The R for random, U for under, and S for sampler. Okay. You can pass the parameter. You can even ignore the parameters. It's up to you. If you want to look at the doc string, this is how it looks like. So random undersampler is a class to perform random undersampling. So what it does is undersample the majority classes by randomly picking samples with or without replacement. Okay. So I'll clear this current output. So let us define RUS as random undersampler, X RUS, Y RUS, and the IDs. IDs are nothing but the removed indexes. Okay, because we are doing undersampling, we are removing the majority classes so that it is more balanced. And this is how the data points look like. Now let us try a random oversampler. Okay, so now you have notice that these are 80 newly picked points, right? So XRS, that means the new shape is 180, whereas the old shape was 100, right? Let us take this point. This one is actually not 1 point. Because of random oversampling, new examples are generated such that they lie at the same point. That means, a stack, right? So that is what has happened here. So it's a balanced data set, but still it looks like this. I'll show you YROS. YROS dot value. Okay, you cannot do YROS value counts because it's a NumPy array. I'll do one thing. I'll generate a pandas data frame using pd.dataframe of this thing. Okay, pandas has no spelling mistake, data frame. Okay. All right. And then dot value underscore counts of 0 dot value counts. So you look at the value counts of 1 and 0. Now let us look at undersampling strategies under Tomic links. Okay. Tomic links are nothing but pairs of very close instances, but of opposite classes. So what we do is, once we remove the instances of the majority classes of each pair, we try to increase the space between the two classes, facilitating the classification process. These areas are there, right? They're pretty close to this. This class belongs to this area, let us say, okay? So what Tomic links does is, it removes all these ones which overlap with the previous other classes area, hence trying to build a better boundary between the two classes and strengthening your classification process. Okay, so from imbalanced learns undersampling module, let us import Tomic links. Okay, let us define Tomic links with a ratio majority, which means we are going to resample the majority class and not the minority class, because it is undersampling technique. So XTL, YTL are the newly generated points after undersampling, and IDTL are nothing but the removed indexes, the indexes which are knocked out. Okay, two Tomic links that fit upon the previous data. Let us see the shape of it and plot the 2D subspace. So these are all the indexes that are removed. So that is one beauty of Tomic links. So let us explore one more undersampling technique called cluster centroids. So what cluster centroids does is it generates clusters and generates centroids based on clustering methods. So the data is there, right? It will be grouped into centroids based on clustering methods, and grouping is done in order to preserve information. So under imbalanced learns undersampling module, let us import cluster centroids. So we are going to define the new data points which we get from cluster centroids by cc.fit sample of x comma y. Cc is nothing but cluster centroids, right? And let us plot this 2D subspace. So the points have become 20 each. So that number of zeros and ones is the same now, right? Now let us move on to smoting. Resampling strategy is one of the most important steps in building a very powerful machine learning model. So we'll be exploring the oversampling strategy called SMOT. And personally, it's my favorite oversampling strategy. So I always use smoting in any machine learning problem I have. Okay, so SMOT, what it does is its full form is synthetic minority oversampling technique. What it does is it synthesizes elements from the minority class based on those that already exist. So it looks at the elements from the minority class that exist, and based on those data points, it generates new data points based on the previous observations. So it randomly picks a point from the minority class and computing the k nearest neighbors for this point. So synthetic points are added between the chosen point and its neighbors. So we have SMOT under IMB learns oversampling module. All right. So we are mentioning ratio is equal to minority just to resample the minority class, which means increase the number of samples of minority class, because smoting is an oversampling technique, right? So let us repeat the same drill. Define smote as smote, this one with a ratio as minority, fit it into your data X and Y, uh, define them as XSM and YSM as the newly generated data points, and plot it out. So this is what smote does. All right. So we are now we are moving on to the final method in resampling strategies. We are doing oversampling, which is then followed by undersampling. So it's a combination of oversampling and undersampling using smote and Tomek link techniques. All right. So Imbalance Learn's combined module has provided smote Tomek. Okay. Now what we have to do is simply load it and get on with our business. Now it is the same. Why we are done Tomex is it is inside the orange, right? So if you pass it on to a machine learning model, it will be incorrectly classified, right? So what Tomek links does is it removes these overlaps, correct? Which is why we're doing oversampling followed by undersampling. Which is why we prefer smote followed by. So this one closes our resampling strategy.